Hello, I am Golden Spear, and this is my first video on this channel. And on this channel, I kind of really want to do book reviews. That's something I really want because I'm a big fan of the Black Library, and a lot of the stuff they put out I quite enjoy. So this is my first book review, and I'm not a professional book reviewer or anything, so forgive me if it's not the best, but I'll do my damnedest for it. And the book I want to review today is Godeaters' Son by Noah Van Nguyen. I think that's how it's pronounced. It's a Vietnamese name, and I probably butchered that completely, but that's who it's by, and it's a very good book. Now, for reference, I'm a big Warhammer fan, but I don't like chaos. I know, boo me out the building. I'm a filthy Imperial loyalist, but I just feel in a lot of the media for Warhammer, the books specifically, the Chaos characters are very two-dimensional. So the best example I can think of off the top of my head is Khan the Betrayer. Because in Warhammer 30,000, in the Horus Heresy, he is perhaps one of the most interesting, compelling characters you will ever find in that particular book series. He has a high sense of honor, quite a high sense of value. He's a very interesting character with a lot of depth to him, and he's clearly been very well thought out. But then if you look at Khan the Betrayer and his portrayal in Warhammer 40,000, well, it's not there. Khan in Warhammer 40,000 is essentially just blood, murder, kill, death, which does appeal to some people, hence why there's a lot of people who still enjoy him and play him. But for me personally, it just feels very two-dimensional. Like the character has been sacrificed almost for it. And also, it's, in my opinion, not a very good portrayal of what chaos could be, because it doesn't care about honor, doesn't care about anything else that Khorne represents. He doesn't represent the various elements of Khorne. He just represents rage. And I know everyone will say, oh, but there's other characters that in the Khornite armies that do. So that's not... There's not, though. Look at Warhammer 40k. Most of the characters in it are just rage, anger, murder. Rage, anger, murder, rage, anger, murder. The whole honor thing basically goes out the window. And I know the whole point is they have a very twisted sense of morality, but the whole point is they have a warrior's honor. The whole point is they don't believe in stabbing their foe in the back. They don't believe in killing each other unless, they absolutely have to, which is often because of a rage seizure that Khorne likes to give his followers that don't shed enough blood. They don't like the idea of betrayal and lying. If you're going to challenge someone for their power, you do it to them. You don't plot and scheme, you straight up make it clear your intention, and then you do it. That is the way of Khorne. This very strong warrior sense of honor, which doesn't get shown a lot, and if it does, it's from a very twisted lens that portrays it, at least in my opinion, very poorly in a lot of Warhammer media. But that is something that the Godeaters' Son does fantastically well. It shows things from a Chaos Worshipper's perspective that makes them feel more human, that makes you understand why they fall to the Dark Gods, and how falling to the Dark Gods isn't necessarily a bad thing. In a weird way, it shows that obviously the blessings always come with a cost. There's always a significant personal cost to pay for these powers. However, it does it in a good job that makes you kind of understand and see why. And I'm going to give an explanation of the book. There will be spoilers. I'm just going to let you know now. I'm not going to spoil the whole thing, and I'm going to leave some of the twists as unspoiled as I can. But talking about these books, I feel like you kind of have to include some spoilers to add some context to the story and kind of allow you to see where I'm coming from. So, I'll start with the beginning. We follow a character from his perspective. The entire book is from this perspective of the character Heldenar Fell. Now, other than having one of the most badass names in Warhammer Age of Sigmar, I would argue, we learn that Heldenar is part of a tribe from Akshi, one of the original tribes that kind of survived through the Age of Chaos. And, of course, as we learn in the Gates of Azir, the life for these people before the arrival of the Stormcast was pretty horrible. They had to kind of, if they didn't fall to the worship of Chaos, they kind of had to run from the worshippers of Chaos and couldn't stop. There was no out for them. So, initially, they were thrilled by the arrival of Stormcast. However, as Azir has been growing more and more influence in the other realms, things have started to change, and for the worst. And it kind of makes you see why the native people are no longer happy with Azerites, Sigmar, and the Stormcast interfering with their realms. Because this entire story is based around, well, I say it's based around, a large part of the story is the city of Kandip, or as it was known originally, Kardid Ip, which is he was from the tribe of Nakshi. Kardid Ip was originally their settlement, their big capital, but it got took over by the Azerites and renamed into Kandip. Horrible name, I know, but we move on. The whole premise is it is now under the control of Azerites, which means his people have been scattered to the winds. Their tribe is no longer functioning. He doesn't know where most of them are. The only thing he knows is he lives with his sister. His parents died when they were quite young. His father was brutally slaughtered by beastmen, and his mother vanished. Again, I won't spoil it. That's something I think will be an interesting thing to read about and learn as you go through the book. But yeah, she vanishes, which just leaves him and his sister. Him and his sister become very close, but they're very opposites. Heldenar is angry at Sigmar and the Azerites because they have taken his people's land. They've kicked them off their home. They've evicted them in all essence. And this, in his mind, Sigmar stole his mother. He doesn't know what happened to her, but for context, and I'm sure that this kind of leads you all to guess, but you'll be able to guess it within the first few seconds of the book anyway when you read that segment. He hates Sigmar for stealing his mother, basically, and leaving him and his sister completely abandoned in this horrible place to live. However, his sister is the complete opposite. His sister loves Sigmar. She's a devout Sigmarite. And the book picks up with Heldenar off hunting. The people of his tribe now, or at least the people of the wilds of Akshi, really, need to earn Akshi Garanus, which, for all intents and purposes, is water, which is the trading material of Akshi. It buys you food, shelter, clothes, everything, and obviously you drink it. It is critical to survival in this plane of insane heat and fire. And it's hard to get. And you can get large quantities of it if you can collect a realm stone, but a realm stone is incredibly hard to find, and even harder then to mine. So most of them make their Akshi Garanus through hunting the various creatures like magma worms. So we find him in this hunt and a Sigmarite priest running from 3 barbarians of a different tribe. Now, normally Heldenar has no love for them. He wouldn't help her. However, he knows his sister would want him to help. So, what's he do? He kills the barbarians to save her. He uses his javelin instead on them to save the Sigmarite priestess. And, obviously, you'd expect gratitude for that. However, she basically starts insulting him just straight off the bat. Just no reason, just starts bullying the guy. Purely because he's not an Azerite. He is viewed as quote-unquote lesser. And all he asks for is she's carrying this bunch of jewels, and he says, look, just give me one. Give me one so I can get some Akshi Garanus for my sister and me, and I'm happy to take you off. She says, no, these belong to the Church of Sigmar. You can't touch them. We don't care about your plight. We don't care about your problems. You're not getting your hands on them. So he goes, okay, I'm going to leave you here then. I don't care if you're eaten in the meantime. I've saved you. You can make your own way to Kandip, if that's how you want to play it. And then walks away. She then suddenly starts pleading and begging but doesn't want to compromise, so he just keeps walking. But then his sister comes along, and his sister scolds him and bullies, and basically scolds him for not helping her further. And this is where things are interesting, because there's always an underlying tension about these 3 people he's killed, which makes him very confused. And, of course, he then learns that if you die, your soul goes to the Dark Gods as almost like a default. And the way the Sigmarites have learned to counter that is by using censures, which you need to use your Akshi Garanus to buy. And to buy 3 censures for 3 souls is massively expensive. So he has to use the supply of Akshi Garanus they had to get them through the month to buy these censures. That's what he learns he has to do. And understandably, he's angry. He's upset because he's essentially being told by this priestess, you can't afford to survive for a month. just because you saved my life, and I don't care. And he understandably is angry. His sister wants to do it, of course, because she's a devout Sigmarite and wants to impress this priestess and make her see she's not just a tribal savage, to make her see that they want to help. They want to be part of Sigmar's glorious reunification of the realms. But this priestess basically plays on that and uses it to make sure she gets what she wants out of it. And the sister complies completely, and Heldenar only complies because his sister complies. And it keeps boiling until eventually he snaps, because he catches her like basically wronging them and very upset. And they have a whole argument, and basically says he owes his existence to Sigmar. To which he responds with, "No, I don't. Sigmar kicked me off my land. He took my family from me. He's basically left me to die. I don't owe him anything." Which, again, as a character thing, I think we can all kind of understand, because we've all been there where someone says we owe them something and we don't. And that's very much the situation that he's in. He explains he saved her life. He doesn't owe her a thing. And she insists that he owes still everything to Sigmar. So he gets upset and then makes a very rash decision and starts to try to go at her with a knife, which his sister steps in and stops him. But in the ensuing scuffle, they knock over their Archie-Goranis and spill it everywhere, which means that they're screwed now. They don't have anything to trade with, they don't have anything to survive with. And there's just a passage I want to read in that section, which really shows how nasty these Sigmarite priests are and how they actually view them. For reference, they use a specific slur for the tribes of Archie called Ashfeet, because obviously they walk around on hot ground. And it's horrible what they say. Let me just try and find the passage. So, basically during the whole thing, Elaine clenched her teeth and shoved me. "Why, you revolting?" I shoved her back, throwing her to the mat as I made for her. "Cancel the censors or don't." I shook another precious Izamelali from its box, electrical current tingling from my palm. "I'll pay your God King's bribes with this." Elaine went red. She glanced around until she found courage and a rock. She raised her weapon. "Those are for the ordination, not for Ashfoot heathens." I battered the rock from her hand and pumping my fist into her gut. She heaved breathless and toppled over. She landed hard, sputtering, tears silver her eyes. Her wrists blushed where she had landed, sprained. But she rose again. By now, chipping the edge of my dirk quivered between us. I'd drawn it without thinking. I regained control of myself, brandishing my blade. "You tried to cast a spell on me in the Ash Wilds. Now this. I didn't tell Vary, but I will now. Raise a weapon against me again," and a meteor hurtled into my side and ripped the words from my throat. The world turned over, and I slammed down. Vary. She wrestled the dirt from my white-knuckle grip and tossed it aside. She pounded her wrapped fist into my chest and temple. I shielded myself as I could. Her strength could have toppled towers. When she relented, I staggered away. She breathed hard, her leg wraps and heat skirt drenched with the water she had dropped. The pails she had lugged up the tall hill lay overturned, their contents spilt. The wasted water steamed on the ground. Barry marched to Elaine. "Sister, I'm sorry. Can you—" Elaine swatted Vary's hand away, still fighting for breath. "Away, away, godless Ashfoot!" Barry went pale with horror. Elaine glared up at us, then spat, and she gathered her skirts and stormed out of the hovel. So even though Vary has actively rushed to her defense to try and help her, to protect her, she still has now decided that that's it. They're all godless heathens, no matter what they do. They're kind of damned from the start. Again, that excerpt on its own doesn't necessarily make him look the best or make Vary look the best. However, when you read the whole chapter, you'll see what I mean when I say she takes a lot for granted. Now, this carries on for a little bit until eventually they discover a beastman horde has been tracking this priestess and has followed them. A fight ensues where they try to protect the priestess, where Helvenar is obviously more worried about protecting his sister. But unfortunately, his sister puts her life on the line for the priestess and takes a mortal wound. They are then kidnapped by the Beastmen and taken to their camp, where a lot of them use sacrifices for the blood god. During the unfolding events, the red rain falls, the rituals are going on, and then there's this comet that screeches across the sky. And this comet is an event in Arkshe that basically messes with gravity, pulls people up, and then drags them along with it, and they vanish. And that's basically what happens. He manages to get the cage, and in his rage kills a couple beastmen. But as he does, the comet rushes by, and he sees his sister. He goes to help her, and this priestess that's with them, that's also been kidnapped, she doesn't help his sister despite being right there. She refuses to help her, focused purely on her own survival. And he tries to save her, but unfortunately Varys gets taken away by the comet and vanishes. And now he feels he's left with nothing, and he blames the priestess. So, in a rage, he kills her. And then the city of Sigmar roll in and start conquering the place. They start killing the Beastmen. And this is quite an important part of the book, because he meets someone who would later become his ally, known as Boskin, and two other creatures. I believe one is known as Lelana, who is the general of the cities of Sigmar, and the other is the Lord Imperatant of the Stormcast of the Hammers of Sigmar. Now, she is a very important figure in this book that will very much come up later. I won't go over that twist. I'll leave that twist for when you guys read the book. However, it is a fantastic twist at the end, and it adds a lot of emotional charge to what happens. So, by all means, it's a big character. Make note. And over the following times, basically, he gets tired of this, because he's even treated like a prisoner when he's with the cities. He's just not in a cage because he helped them fight the Beastmen for a brief while he was angry. The book then eventually keeps going and culminates with him having amassed a horde and starts attacking Candip. He wants to reclaim his home from the Sigmarites. He's had enough. He's been pushed so far that he launches an attack. And the initial attack goes horribly. The initial attack goes really wrong. And keeps trying, and eventually he gets there at the end of the book. I'll leave it there for now when it comes to the story stuff. Because, again, I advise massively, give this a read. Check it out. It is a fantastic view of Khorne, his followers, and his army. And the thing I found intriguing about it was I wasn't expecting it going in, because this is a Warhammer novel. Things like emotional care between characters goes as far as the bond of brotherhood in battle. It doesn't really stretch past that. Apart from in this one, where it actually explores what a Khornate romance would look like. I know, a weird sentence and a weird thing to have in a Warhammer book, but it's really interesting how it actually unfolds. It's a little subplot that goes all the way through the book. And it's really good. It's done really well and shows the intricacies of a Chaos warband. How there's this constant camaraderie but constant threat of being usurped. How there's a romance between two people but also the knowledge that one could always try and kill the other. It's a really interesting take and a really humanizing take on Khorne and his followers. I cannot advise the book enough, personally. Heldenar Fel, for a start, fantastic character. Give me a model of Heldenar Fel. Screw it, I'll do it myself. I want him so bad. This book single-handedly made me collect Chaos Army, that being the Blades of Khorne. I'm working on them currently, their orders inbound. I want them, and I want the Godeaters' son, which is Heldenar's title, as my war leader, without a shadow of a doubt. This book is a fantastic introduction to not only Age of Sigmar, but the forces of chaos. If you've always been more into the destructive evil side of things, so like in Star Wars, if you choose the Sith over the Jedi, which I don't blame you, they're fucking awesome. Godeaters' Son is very much a good way to look at them. This is possibly one of the best views you will ever get of a Chaos faction from a book that isn't just two-dimensional evil villain laughing maniacally in the background while they do weird satanic stuff. This is genuinely I cannot praise the book enough. Noah van Nguyen, again, don't know if I'm pronouncing that name right, definitely deserves his props and more. I want to see more Chaos books from this guy. I want to see the Godeaters' Son saga continue, because this is an incredible book. It is a fantastic read. It is a lot of fun, and it really, really helps you know the setting. It is a good introduction to chaos. It's a good introduction to the setting, to the relationships between the factions, and even the small folk compared to the Azerite peoples and the Stormcast. It's a very good place that shows that how intense the divide actually is between them. Honestly, give it a read. I managed to read it in about a week, but that's because I'm a bit of a slow reader. I think it was a bit more than a week, actually. I think it was 2 or 3, but that's because I'm a slow reader. If you get the time, read the book. 100%. Godeaters' Son. You can probably find it at most Games Workshop stores. You might be able to find it at like a Waterstones. This book is 100% worth your time. And yeah, honestly, that's all I have left to say about it. Just how good it is. So yeah, if you guys like this, I know it's a very simple book review. It's my first one. Please be patient. Any feedback is always welcome. Anything that I could do to improve. Background-wise, unfortunately, I can't really improve that. That's just a mess of my family stuff because we're all kind of into it and we share a space and we don't have as much room as we want. So we are going to organise at some point. At some point, this will get cleaned. However, unfortunately, right now it's a bit of a mess. So I apologise for that as you watch the video. But yeah, if you enjoy the book review, please leave a like, let me know. Give me some feedback. Feedback's always welcome. And yeah, other than that, next time I plan to review The End of Enlightenment, which is a book about the Lumineth Realm Lords taking on the Oziarch Bone Reapers. So hopefully that should be very fun. I've already got that planned, already got lined up, nearly done. Just going to give a quick glance through and check out the various ins and outs of the book and any quotes I may want to use. Hopefully it'll be more than this one, a bit more structured, bit more of like a less of an improvised ramble about the book, really. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. See you next time, I guess.